Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, you can see on the screen we're doing Esports World Cup or Champs Rostermania. Going to do a couple other things, but just going to be that today. So I like to say it's a shorter episode, and then we end up running like an hour and a half. So I'm not going to say it today.
Yeah.
But that's about all we have for today. So we're just going to go over the rosters for EWC and then maybe talk about like potential moves for post EWC that we could see happening, or kind of talk about like what rosters could look like. If you guys
hmm
enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. Brock, we're going to kick it off with the Wordle today.
Ooh, the Wordle.
And this is the first time I think we've done the Wordle on the Breaking Point site
Hey,
in the pod. So who do you want to start with?
Oh, let's start with Slasher.
Slasher. Okay, that's a decent amount of wins, a ring, some teams. Okay, so it's a player with younger than 30, which isn't shocking. He's the oldest player.
Yep.
Well, active at least. He has a ring. Wasn't on any of the teams Slasher's been on in the CDL, but less than 9 wins. I'm thinking I was gonna say Draza, but LAT and OGLA. What am I thinking? And they were teammates. That was actually a terrible guess. What I just said. Uh, what about Attach? He hasn't played for any of those teams and has a ring, and I think less than that many wins.
That's it.
Oh wait, he's not US. Whatever. I'm still guessing it anyways. I just noticed that last second. He's younger than Attach, hasn't played for any of Attach's teams either. I just noticed he's not US though, so that like limits it
Yeah.
extremely. I mean Hydra, but he played for NYSL and LAT, so it's not him. A non-US player with a ring, so a Canadian player. Because I'm trying to think, what other non-US players have rings? Isn't Hydra the
Wait.
only? Isn't Hydra
Yeah,
the
I
only
thought, I
EU
thought.
player?
Yeah.
Unless I'm bugging, I don't.
Dashi? No, dude. No.
No, but he has two, unless they didn't update it. And he played for OGLA.
Yeah.
Dude, who is the other? I'm trying to think.
Non-US with a ring.
Non-US with a ring. I mean, we can guess Dashy to see if he's Canadian. Maybe
Yeah.
he's teammates with Dashy. Wait, he's teammates with Dashy on OpTic with one ring. So it's Merc then. Is Merc
It is
not?
more.
Isn't Merc American?
Yes.
Wait, it's not Merc. Wait, he was teammates. So it's got to be. Is it like a bench player or something?
The Skies?
There you
Skies
go.
is.
That's totally who it is. This guy's not from America.
He is.
Wait, it's not Sky. Wait, who? Okay, he's team.
I.
Is it like JP or something? But JP has 2 rings. Dude, am I
Who
tripping?
is this?
He's teammates with Skies and Dashy on OpTic, but it can't be Huke because he has
Shot? That can't be Shotzi. Can't be
shottzyy has
Merc.
3, Huke has 2, and we guess Merc. He's dude who teammates with Dashy and Skies on OpTic. Karma is multiple rings. It can't be. I don't even think is he even listed on here. I'm just gonna guess him to see if he says he's teammates with Karma. Okay, not teammates with Karma, dude. Who?
Who is this play? Is it Hecz?
Oh my god, Brock, we're so stupid. It's Pred.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
I
god.
kind of just forgot about Fred.
Yo,
You know,
but teammates with Skies has me thrown off. Was he? Were they
I
like? Did
guess he would.
they crossed over when Pred was on the bench or something? Technically, that's what threw me off.
I
Yo,
guess so.
I was just thinking like I was only thinking of the current team because I'm so recency biased from them. That's hilarious.
I wasn't even thinking about Fred at
Dude,
all, to be honest.
that was so easy. We look like absolute bots doing that. That was so easy. Oh my
that
god.
that that was funny.
Okay. Now we're back to the Rostermania page. That's hilarious. So I don't know why I wasn't even thinking of Pred.
Yeah,
That's
same
hilarious.
here.
That was the easiest answer ever, and we just completely bottled it. Um
Unlucky.
all right, we got the page up here. This is the main thing we want to talk about. And it's Rostermania. So the teams, this is just for EWC, what the teams are right now. Obviously, I would assume a ton of these teams are going to change after EWC going into the next game. And we'll
Yep.
kind of maybe talk about some things we think could happen. But obviously at the top, you got OpTic, Merc, Dashy, huke, shottzyy, not changing for EWC. Gonna assume they're probably not gonna change for Black Ops 7 as well. Usually you win champs, you don't change. Although, I mean, we've seen it before. It's also very rare for a team to stick the year after winning champs. I want to say like the only teams that have ever stuck and made it to like a to play the next champs is literally like IW Envy. Because I was actually thinking about that the other day, and like Black Ops
I
2,
mean,
Farico didn't make it to the next champs. They didn't. Just if they play the next champs together. Farico, 1BO2 did not play Ghost together. That those four, I mean, the org wasn't even around, but those four didn't play together. That Dynasty team, the Complexity one, that won Ghost, they didn't make it to AW because the Dynasty and OpTic was formed. The Denial team didn't even finish the year. They didn't make it to Black Ops 3. The Black Ops 3 winners were the only one. They made it back to IW champs finals with the same exact team. And then IW, OpTic Dynasty, didn't make it to World War II champs. World War II, that team did not make it to Black Ops 4 champs. Black Ops 4, the team didn't make it. The United team, they split up. MW19, they might have stuck, but they didn't have a chance because it switched to 4v4 and they didn't even make it with their 4-person roster. Cold War, they made it back to champs and lost the finals in Vanguard. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So literally just 2 teams have ever made it and played the next champs together, I think, because then Vanguard, LAT did as well.
Vanguard and
Yes.
Thieves.
So yeah, 3 teams out of whatever how many champs winners there are, like 12. 10,
Yeah, that's
12.
crazy.
So not many teams even make it to play the next champs together, let alone like do well. So we'll see if this sticks. There is a rumor that maybe we'll talk about later. Could OpTic make a roster change? I don't know. There maybe is a rumor, and maybe we'll suggest it, see what people think. LAT for now for EWC sticking with their roster.
Yep.
I could see them making a change. Same thing with Atlanta. Would you agree? Obviously, they're sticking from everything we know for now through EWC, but could definitely be making a change there. And I think even more likely than LAT to make a change.
Yeah. It's time for FA to make a change.
Yeah, it might be time. Then Toronto, our first move to talk about here, they have Abe. That's who that is added in there, along with Insight, Kleenex, and Joe. An interesting decision, I would say, to drop Beans. I don't know that I necessarily agree with it. It was also tough timing because they announced they dropped Beans, and then the little breaking point cards came out that Insight was like basically a 50-something overall, like one of the worst at the tournament. And
Yeah,
Beans was their best
he
player according to the
struggled.
cards. Obviously, the cards aren't the end all be all, but like kind of a tough look for the social media aspect of people that just like look at the cards and are like, oh my god, Beans is the best player.
Yep.
I don't. I will say I'm not as like outraged as I've seen some people be about it. I don't know how you feel, but like I don't think Beans is necessarily the answer for them either long term. As a main AR, he's a good player. I don't know that he's necessarily the answer. I like Beans a lot. I think he deserves to be in the league for sure. I don't know that he's a long term answer, but I don't think Insight's the long term answer for them either. I think Beans has more of a chance to be, so I would have rather seen Beans stick on this roster because I think the Insight and Kleenex experiment, like they're consistently good, but I think it's time to just like hold on to Kleenex and try something else.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, hold on to Kleenex, try something else.
It's been too much of the same for the last few years.
Yeah, it's kind of what I think. It's been basically the same thing over and over. You know, they win a tournament here and there, and they've obviously had some really, really good teammates in those stretches. And then this was kind of the first year. I mean, Joe Deceives ended up being like a star player this year. But this is like the first time in a bit where they haven't had like a really either solid teamwork team or like an absolute top end superstar. Like Joe was a really good star player, but he wasn't like top 3 in the world like they had with Scrap on the team. And obviously Kleenex and Insight, like they're winning players. And like, I'm not saying Insight is like terrible, but I don't know. I just feel like it's time for them to move on. And they did make a change. It wasn't for the Insight Kleenex duo, but it was for Abe. And the interesting thing about this, Brock, is Abe is going to be using a sub. And, you know, some players, I don't know, like when I think of a guy like Simp, I feel like I could see him flexing like a Pred, Scump when he was playing. Like the slightly slower SMGs that are more pre-aim heavy at times, like you could see them flexing. In my head, Joe and Kleenex, like I don't see either of them as like subs that I want to
Flex.
flex because they're pretty fast.
Yeah.
But Joe tweeted that Kleenex is going to be the flex in this team.
Oh, I mean, definitely he'd probably be like the fastest flex slash AR probably in the league.
I and from what we've heard, Abe is really, really, really good with the sub and is a nasty
Yeah.
player overall. So like, yeah, if Kleenex is really going to speed it up, obviously Joe and Abe could play fast. Like this team could set a lot of pace and could be really good. It's just pacing wise, is it going to be really awkward if Kleenex is a super fast flex and their two subs are playing really fast, and then Insight they're having to drag the metal boots out of spawn? It might be a little
Yeah.
tough. Like again, I have a lot of faith in Insight because like no, I shouldn't say I have a lot of faith. I have a lot of faith in him to adapt if needed because I do think Insight is one of the smartest players.
Hmm.
I don't think you can even really question that. I think Insight is clearly one of the smartest cerebral players because like he has good gunny and like he's a clutch player and like he is a good player. But like I think the thing that's kept him around for so long is like, you know, he is a good player, can shoot, but he's extremely smart. So I think he can adapt, but like I'm interested to see how it will work because his play style isn't naturally to speed up and catch up to his fast AR and subs.
Might be a little bit of a pacing issue, but who knows? Maybe it'll work out for
Yeah,
EWC and them.
I think this team is going to change after, unless obviously they like go out and win it or something. But I'm excited to see Abe play because he's been hyped up a little bit. It's a little confusing. I wish his name wasn't Abe because I like to call Abezy Abe.
Yeah.
So then it's going to get
Yeah.
it's going to get a little confusing. I'm not going to be allowed to call him, or I'm not going to be able to call Abezy Abe if Abe sticks in the league. It's already confusing trying to say it like
Yeah.
that. But interested to see what that team does. I think it can be a good roster change because if they do discover that like Abe is really good and him and Joe work together well, and Kleenex is going to stick on a flex and be like a really fast flex, this team has potential to like snag one of the top ARs on the board this offseason and really make an interesting team if Kleenex
Hmm.
does work out on the flex.
Yeah. And it's also good to put clinics on the flex now then rather than try them in a new game.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. Yeah, you can throw him in the flex, and if it's just clear he's not comfortable, or like he says he doesn't like running it, or he really does, then you can at least go forward, kind of knowing next
Yeah.
year what you're working with instead of yeah, like you said, all of a sudden you just decide, no, let's run Kleenex in the flex next year, and it just doesn't work out. Isn't comfortable. He doesn't like it, and then you're making roster changes all year trying to fix that mistake. That is a really good point.
Mm.
I like the idea of trying it
Yep.
out at EWC where it's. I mean, it matters. You want to win. It's a lot of money. Like as a player, you want to win, but
Yep.
it's not like a as serious of like you're not going to try a random role swap at champs when your team's kind of been practicing all year one way.
Yeah.
All right, Brock, our next team, your boys, LAG. They are keeping three of the players they had to round out the year, but adding Diamond Khan onto the roster with Kismet, Johnny, and Lunars. Diamond Khan replaced Fellow. I couldn't be less moved by this move. It just
I maybe
recycling a player we've seen a few times.
yeah. Maybe a little bit more gunny, but I mean we saw Diamond Con on LG
Yeah,
last year.
we've seen Diamond Khan multiple stints in the league. Not a bad player, a serviceable player, can be a solid player, but it's like this team was so bad this year, and swapping
Yeah.
out one average player for another just like solid player isn't just going to instantly make them better. The only thing I feel
Hmm.
like a team like LAG could benefit from is the fact that like some of our like I shouldn't say some of our better teams because it is a little different this year at EWC where LAT and Atlanta had absolutely horrible performances compared to their expectations. Because like we
Yep.
saw last year, OpTic basically from the sounds of it didn't really even scrim or try in scrims leading up to
Yeah.
EWC after winning champs. Um, but I guess like those teams are going to want to redeem themselves and like it is a lot of money. So like I guess other teams will be trying. But I was going to say maybe LAG is going harder than other teams wanting to make up for the year they had. This team doesn't move me, and I definitely do not expect uh, this to be the team, you know, moving forward,
Definitely not think
like
so.
into next year, because I think they're a team. It sounds like they're a team. I mean, they went after Scrap and Hydra this past off season, so like it sounds like they're a team that's at least willing to throw their hat in the ring and spend. So I
Yeah.
can't really imagine they're just going to roll forward with three of the same 4 players they had this year, especially when it wasn't working at all.
hmm I mean, if
Um,
anything,
yeah,
I would keep Kismet and go on with that.
yeah, just keep Kismet and see what else you have depending on what's available.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's just
Been rough over LEG.
which brings us. I mean, our next 2 teams on the list here, Boston and Minnesota, both. I expect both. Maybe not Boston, depending on how they're gonna do whatever with their finances. Maybe they won't make a change. I mean, they should, but maybe they won't. Minnesota, same thing. They'll probably make a change for next year, but for
Yeah.
EWC, they're not making a change. The interesting thing here related to LAG is this Carolina roster, which this is something different. So, from what my understanding was, it was the omit rule from last year. Omit their team like won Challenger champs or finished second or whatever, and got like 3 of their players poached onto CDL teams, and then that kind of ruined like the qualifier for EWC, where like the team that won the Challenger champs basically didn't even exist anymore once it came around to EWC. So they put in a rule where you could only switch out 1 player. So I was a little bit confused as to how this Carolina roster even formed, because I was under the understanding that you can only switch out 1 player for EWC. But the answer that I saw was if the players are no longer under contract by your team, you can switch out, I think, up to 3, maybe all 4. So Tej, Gwyn, they obviously almost done like not been under contract, and Rex for this team because they went with a triple EU stack: Cobra, Afro, and F dot. I'm not familiar with F dot, but I heard he has been running challenges in EU. Obviously, we know Afro and Cobra, not like crazy familiar, but we saw him play at EWC last year, and we know a little bit about him because he's been kind of a name in the
Yep.
challenger scene. But I'm just still shocked that Cobra ended up here because I
Yeah.
believe he is a French player, and we know that like Gotaga wants to build with potential French players if they're available and good and deserve a spot, like he wants them. And we've heard Cobra is like one of the next up players for quite some time now. So I'm kind of shocked that Cobra is not LAG.
Yeah. You're not wrong about that. I mean, first, I'm just hoping Cobra, you know, doesn't play too high, and maybe they pick him up for next year.
Yeah,
Weird that sounds.
every other team on this list for the most part, I can picture what it's going to look like because it's players, I know, like obviously the top 3 teams are staying the same up there. Toronto, I can picture like Kleenex kind of playing a fast AR, and if Abe is a fast, like talented sub, I know what that looks like. LAG, I can picture Dimacon filling in for Fellow, what that would look like. Uh, Even like the teams below this, just like the 1-person switch for Teach coming in for Vegas, like I can see how that would work, but like
Yep.
I don't know how this Carolina team is going to play. I obviously know Afro. He has talent and he has gunny, but it hasn't translated in game too much for him. Like he's been able to get kills, but a lot of people kind of criticize his plays in the map.
Yep.
And then Cobra, I have such little sample size of that. Like I just don't know how he's going to play. And then F dot, I've heard he's run EU challengers for a few years and is really good, but again, I just don't have the sample size to go off. So and then you got the old head slasher, oldest guy in the league, leading them.
Still doing it.
This feels like they had to keep 1 player, and they're like, all right, we'll keep the vet and see if he can lead these 3 young guys. I
Yeah.
mean, an opportunity for Slasher, I guess I would say. Like, I don't know if he wants to continue playing past this year, but like, if these 3 young guys actually, I mean, Afro really not that young anymore. He's been around for a while, but if the other 2 young guns are really talented, and Slasher can lead them to a decent finish here, maybe they keep him around with 3 young guns and hope that they
hmm
can turn into something next year. But I'm intrigued by this team just because it'll be fun to see like F dot and Cobra, see if they can shoot back and ball out, and see if Afro can, um, have a Neptune type story where the first couple stints didn't go the way he wanted, and then he comes back strong because the talent, the physical, like the mechanical talent is there for Afro. Just a matter of is he evolved as a player in terms of the decision
Yep.
making part of the game. But I'm curious to see him. I just have no idea what they're going to be like. I'm going to assume they're not going to do too well, but you never know.
I mean, we're rooting for them though, to do well. That's for sure.
Yeah, I like the players in the team. Or I should say I like Slasher and Afro for the most part because I just don't know the other 2.
Yeah. I'm
Uh,
sure Slasher will get them ready.
yeah, I would agree. Um, then we got Miami not making a change, but we'll talk about that potentially for a
Yep.
change next year. Vegas, Mr. Tej is in for Priesta. However, he is not flexing. It's going to be Flexnid. Xnid is going to be on the flex. They're going to have
Excellent.
Pred and Tej run the subs. I think it's an improvement. I think Tej over Priesta in this game is an improvement. I don't think it makes them some star team,
Yeah.
but I don't know why. Maybe it's just my Tej bias. I feel like this team is going to be. I feel like Xnid and like the Falcons camp in general is going to be going really hard for EWC. I feel like they're going to be one of the most well practiced teams, and I feel like they're going to make. I'm not. I don't think they're going to like win the tournament or anything or make some super deep run, but I feel like they're going to make a little more noise than people expect. I think they're going to come out a lot more competitive, maybe win a match or something, which is a lot more
Hmm.
than they've done most of the year.
Yeah. I would have to agree. Definitely an upgrade.
Because I mean,
TJ Alley for Priesta.
and Pred and TJ are like that's a. Is it the best sub duo in the league? No, absolutely not. But it's a formidable sub duo. Like
Yeah.
it's a solid mid pack sub duo. You've got a guy like Pred who can be a top end sub, and a guy like TJ who's just a really steady, good at S&D, good overall sub.
Hmm.
And then Xnid, interested to see him on the flex. He could end up being like a really fast flex player. This team could play fast. And then Arcitys, if he shows up and is the Arcitys that we know from time to time, could be
Yeah.
could be a good weekend for him.
Yeah. Darcy's definitely has his moments.
Yeah. Uh, then we got Vancouver here. Obviously, for now, not making a change. Probably not going to make a change for next year unless contract things get in the way or somebody gets poached.
Yeah.
Um, because I would assume 04 and Abezy are probably free agents because they've been on
I
Surge the last
believe.
2 years. If they had like the 1+1 thing,
Yeah.
they're probably both free agents, and I would assume both of them will garner some interest from suitors
Hmm.
this offseason, considering 04 has been, for the most part in a tough role pretty good in his 2 years in the
Yeah.
league, and Abezy has been pretty damn good as well and shown some really big pop offs. So I would assume they both have suitors, but for now they're the same, at least for EWC. And then C9, Gwyn is in for
Hmm.
Capsital. I like the pickup of Gwyn. I think Gwyn's certainly an upgrade over Capsital. I still don't like the finished product of a roster, but like I see a world where like the Kremp Gwyn sub duo is solid. Sib is really, really good. And like
Hmm.
I don't necessarily think Spart's the long term answer, so I don't think they're gonna do super well at EWC. I think they'll be competitive, maybe win a match
Yeah.
or two. But this is a team that like if they are in the market for an AR this offseason and are able to get a solid one, I like what I see.
100%. It's a good
That's
upgrade.
yeah. So
And yeah, I was gonna say, and if would have been great if Attach was still playing and actually, kind of locked in.
yeah, it'd be even better. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I I don't know though. I feel like apart from like I don't want to like start shifting things around too much just because it could get kind of unorganized. But like there are some rumors out there, Brock. There are some rumors of some big changes on the way
That'd be a lot of different,
that
a lot of
would
another,
blow things up.
domino effect. Yeah.
So the just start out at the top here. There is a rumor that LAT is trying to potentially pick up Simp or Abezy. I don't know how much credibility there is to that. I would obviously assume it's for Envoy because I'm gonna assume they're gonna keep Hydra.
Yeah.
But the domino effect that would have would be crazy because then all of a sudden Envoy would be an unrestricted free agent, and he would instantly become one of the top subs on the market that a lot of teams would be after. Also, if a
So
BZ leaves phase, that leaves them to potentially crumble. Simp could go somewhere else. There's rumors of Simp replacing huke.
that would be.
What are your thoughts on that? If you're OpTic's GM and you get the call, it's like, hey, Simp's a free agent. He wants to play for us. You got to drop huke to do it. What are you doing?
I'm dropping Hook
Yeah, I
in
agree.
about an instant.
Yeah, I agree. I don't. I actually, it's
Unfortunately, it's probably not great to keep dropping Hook, but at least he won a ring this year after all the shenanigans and
dude.
stuff.
Yeah, it is kind of messed up that huke would just like potentially get dropped again. But dude, I don't know, man.
It's simp, you know?
I
You
feel
have
bad
to.
because Hook did everything to deserve praise this year. He
Yep.
silenced. We were doubters of him on land. He has had his struggle since winning champs, up and down, up and down. And he did everything. He played incredible. He won this ring. He deserves it. He truly deserves to continue having his spot on the roster. He earned it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, one of the potential GOATs could be on the market if, in this case, obviously we don't know if he is. Like, I just don't like. There are a couple players out there in the league where it's like if you can acquire them, you acquire them. And it sounds like OpTic might have made this mistake once. They could have just acquired Hydra and they decided to not do it. If Hydra was a free agent and you were told that I guess this is what I think. Maybe people just like think a lot higher of Hydra than Simp, but like if you are an honest OpTic fan and you are presented with the opportunity for your team to keep Huke or drop him to pick up Hydra, like you're doing that in an instant. And if you're not, you're lying to yourself. Or you're just like, you got the rose colored champs glasses on still.
Yeah.
It's what we saw New York do after they won champs. They dropped Priesta for Sib. It was a puzzling move at the time. We were kind of puzzled. But now, if we look at that with hindsight, it was probably the right move. Priesta didn't win a series on LAN with Boston, and they basically didn't win a series all year. And he basically didn't win a series on LAN for like 2 years following getting dropped by NYSL.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, it turned into a 1 win the next year, and they finished second at champs. So obviously, the end result at champs wasn't as good, but it's a different game. Priesta was not nearly as good at that game as he was the previous title. If Simp is on the market and OpTic has a chance to get him, I'm dropping Huke in a heartbeat. And that's so terrible because Huke has earned a spot. And if that happens to Huke, dude, I feel so bad for him because he does not deserve to be dropped. Just because I would drop him, doesn't mean oh my God, you got to look to drop Huke. Because you don't have to. Huke had an awesome year and he's evolved as a player. Him and shottzyy, the duo is undeniable. Him and shottzyy consistently find success as a duo. Whether it's winning tournaments or not, they're always in the hunt to win a tournament when those two are together.
Agreed.
But it's so messed up.
Unfortunate that, the caliber of Simp is just may be available.
Yeah. However, who knows? LAT might scoop him up. My question of if that domino effect happens, let's say in this hypothetical world, let's say Abezy joins LAT for Envoy. Let's say in this hypothetical world that has happened.
Yeah.
Obviously, then it's Ghosty, Scrap, Abezy, and Hydra. So like, here I'll just move Abezy up here.
I don't want to think about that team.
Just so you can see the hypothetical. I think no matter what, Draza's gone anyways. It sounds like he's potentially going to go to Ultra. I would assume for Insight. So let's say Insight is gone off Ultra. Let's say Draza goes and joins Ultra, which if that Abe kid is actually really good, Draza, Kleenex, Joe, and Abe could be a really, really good team. Super fast team. Like the fastest team in the league, but really, really good. So now that leaves Celium and Simp on FaZe. Well, they're probably going to disband. That means Simp's probably coming up here to OpTic, which I'm just going to like move these guys down to LAG where nobody's going. So that means
Huke's gone.
Simp would go to OpTic. So that means Huke's gone. Well, Celium is probably not sticking around to build his own team. I think LAT, if they had the money, is dropping Ghosty.
Yeah.
And adding Celium. And then the absolute super fryer team of Celium, Scrap, Abezy, and Hydra forms, or throw Simp in there instead of Abezy if you really wanted to. And then the question becomes if Abezy's on the market, it sounds like we know where he might be going. But then all of a sudden, if you're OpTic, do you try to call Abezy and get him for Huke? I don't know. But here, let me just reset this back to how the teams actually are currently. But that's just like that just right there in 2 seconds showed you like the crazy domino effect that can happen.
FaZe be left without a team.
Yeah, if FaZe breaks up. They'd be left without a team, and for the first time, FaZe would not finish in the top 2. They've been one every year except this year. They wouldn't finish in the top 2, most likely. You never know. Maybe they would recuperate, but all of a sudden, FaZe would be like a rebuilding team. But Brock, the big rumor, ignore the Abezy thing there. The big rumor is that Abezy might be actually headed to Falcons. And I heard some rumors about what Pred is making, and I can't blame Abezy for taking that offer because it might be a lot of money. Let's just say that. It might be a lot of money. More than any other team is going to offer him. And we knew Falcons had the potential to do this at any point.
Yeah. I mean, if you're Abezy, you have to. I mean, you got the 2 rings already. It's not like you're chasing for a ring.
Yeah.
I mean, you still want to win a ring, but if you're gonna get a bay like that, and you gotta take it because
Mhm.
you don't really know how much longer CL could disband next couple of years.
But let's also not act like that team couldn't be really good because if they're throwing around money like that, like they're going to be able to get pretty much whoever they want, whether it's this next year, it might be a couple year plan. Like you add Abezy,
Yeah,
maybe they're keeping Xnit because they want Xnit as part of the roster, and then yeah, they're not able to find like an elite main AR to replace Arcitys, but like next year, Cellium or Scrap are on the market.
yeah,
Let's bring over Cellium or Scrap. Like I think it's gonna be hard to poach OpTic guys because it seems like OpTic guys are kind of there for the long haul and like setting up their post career. But I like Celium
yeah,
Scrap potentially being available. Maybe they even poach like a Draza
yeah.
to go to that team.
Potentially, yeah.
Bring over the best AR in League Kenny. You never
Any
know.
for our cities
Like I
down.
mean that would be an upgrade. Uh,
Yeah,
but I don't know if a BZ does head there. I would obviously assume it's. I don't think TJ is going to be on this roster long term personally.
yeah, probably
Um,
not.
I don't think TJ or RCs. I think they'll probably roll with Xnid Pred and try to find two for next year. But if that
Yeah,
rumor does come true again, it's gonna blow up the league because Abezy leaves, then Draza probably leaves, and then that leaves Simp and Cell as a team of two, which maybe they would be a team of two on phase and just find two more. But I'm sure if that happens, Simp's gonna hit up OpTic and be like, "Hey, can I replace Huke?" And that would be the domino
hmm,
because then Huke would obviously be picked up by a top team, which would maybe make their AR or sorry their sub get moved, and like it's a crazy domino. I really want. It sounds like kind of selfish, but I really want FaZe and LAT to make changes, and then all of a sudden, one of those elite subs that is on the market goes to OpTic, and they change because as a content creator within the CDL community and also just a fan of the CDL, I want to see the most chaos. So seeing the champs winner break up as well as FaZe and LAT also breaking up could just like it would just make for a crazy offseason that I would love to make content about.
pure chaos.
Yeah. Like I'm in here to root for pure chaos. I'm not here to root for a boring offseason.
Yeah,
I okay, Brock, if you look at these teams, I want you to make a prediction here. If you're looking at these 12 teams we have here, these are the EWC rosters. How many of these teams are going to stick and not make a change going in the Black Ops 7?
if I had to guess, I would say Optic and LAT. Really, the only two,
It's so you think
unless crazy things happen.
so you think most likely 10 teams change.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I would hope these bottom teams would change
Yeah.
from what they have right now.
So the way my thought process behind it is I think phase are changing 100%. Unless they somehow win EWC like they did last year,
Yeah,
I think they're changing. I think LAT is again, this is not off any intel. I think LAT is 75% sticking. If they win EWC, I think they'll for sure stick. I think they're about 75% sticking, but I think there's like a small chance, depending on how other things shake out, that they could make a change.
yeah.
I think OpTic again. I think OpTic is 90% sticking, but I think there's that weird world where a Simp or a BZ become available and they pick one up. Um,
I mean, yeah. All it takes is that one domino to fall, and everyone starts changing.
and they've both shown a history of wanting to create content. That's all I'm saying. So what better
Yeah.
place to go? Especially a BZ. He's been creating a lot of content lately. I wonder why. I got to put the wind horse fingers in the
Yeah.
air in this. I wonder why he's been creating so much content lately. But uh,
Something's up.
I'd say 90 to 95% optic sticks because obviously, again, they won champs. Like there isn't a reason for them to make a change. But it's also not too often that Simp and a BZ potentially become available. So you never know. Maybe they
Mhm.
make that change. Toronto, oddly enough, I think there's like a weird chance where they do stick with this roster. But I'll say it's a 75% chance they change.
Yep.
But I think uh, they might stick. There's like a 25% chance they stick. LAG, I mean, they better change. Jesus.
Would
Uh,
hope so.
Boston, same thing. They better change, but I actually like low key kind of think maybe they would stick. They might stick.
Yeah.
However, if Snoopy's a free agent,
Pudgy.
that guy needs to go crash down the door at the Heretics facility and get them to
You
drop
know,
medals for
Vamos
him.
down there.
Yeah, because that would move me. Snoopy for medals on Miami would move me because
Yep.
Super and Rencor are a legit. Rencor is a star in the making. If he
Yep.
already is a star, but he's a potential superstar in the making. He's a beast. Real's a beast. Super is really good, and Snoopy is a significant upgrade over medals and more of a true sub in a way. And that team would move me. Snoopy needs to go knock down the door in
Hmm.
Miami and get them. I expect Minnesota to change. I don't expect them to go in with the roster that didn't make champs. I don't expect that Carolina roster to stick. Vegas is for sure changing. Vancouver, I'll say, is 50-50.
Yep. I can definitely see them sticking.
I can see
If
them
one of the players
sticking.
gets poached.
Yeah, that's my thing. Is I don't know. Again, this isn't facts or intel, but I think that like since Neptune was picked up mid-season, he might only have been on like a rest of the year contract. And then since 04 and Abezy are on their second full year on Surge, I think their contracts may also be up if they're on the normal 1+1. So that's the reason I say it's 50-50. Otherwise, I think that they would probably stick. If they were all under contract, I think they'd just be like, yeah, let's just stick it out. But I think 2 or 3, or even if Nasty just stayed on the same contract and was just bought out from Thieves, he might even be a free agent. So there's a chance all 4 of these players are free agents. And then because they got multiple seconds and a second at champs, maybe like a better team kind of reaches out and poaches one of them. So that's the only reason I say 50-50. I would love to see them stick. I just think somebody might poach. And then the C9 team, I believe, is changing because I think they'll at least swap out Spart most likely for next year. So I don't know. I'd say like if I had to take a stab at it, I'm going to go bold and say 10 teams change as well. I think LAT and OpTic stick and the rest of them change.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is, Brock, I don't know if we can ever say this. There's a world where all 12 teams switch. It's one of the rare simulations, but there is a world where all 12 teams switch.
Yeah. And that would be just absolute pure chaos, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I'm also here for it. I really want it to happen. I really, really want it to happen just for the chaos of it. Again, OpTic fans, don't get mad. Don't get pissed that we're asking for them to change. I'm strictly talking. I just want to see pure chaos. I just want to see chaos.
I'm waiting for the notification on Twitter from someone to, waiting for the news to break if it happens.
Unfortunately, it's probably not going to be for what, at least 3 weeks until after EWC.
Yeah.
Because like all these teams, I think all these teams are pretty much. I think they're roster locked, unless there's teams that just like haven't made an announcement or something.
Yeah, we gotta wait about a month for that to happen.
My headset shut off again. What's going on here? But yeah, I think they're all roster locked. I think 10 teams are at least changing. The weird thing is I think FaZe are guaranteed changing. The thing that would change the 10 would be like if Boston stuck or Vancouver stuck.
Yeah.
That'd be the thing that would like change it down to like 9 or 8 teams, or maybe even Miami. Miami could stick, like if Snoopy doesn't become an option and they want to stick with an all Spanish speaking roster. Like I don't know if there was ever a time to go away from the all Spanish speaking. I believe all their players can speak English.
Yeah.
So if there ever was a time to go away and an elite sub hit the market that doesn't speak Spanish, you got to go for it because this is the best Spanish roster that's ever been assembled. Like they have 3 legit, like they have 3, like sometimes in the past, like you could argue like would Metals have made the league if he wasn't a Spanish speaking player, added to Heretics for that reason? I don't know about that, but like there is no biased cheese with Rencor, Real, and Super. Like all 3 of those guys are good enough to be in the league if they were from Texas. Like all 3 of them are good enough to be in the league if they weren't from Spain. And obviously Miami wants to pick up the players from Spain, or at least Spanish speaking players, even if they aren't from Spain. Like those 3 are all good enough to be in the league, regardless of where they come from. Like those guys would be in the league no matter what. So if you're ever going to go away from that gimmick because a player becomes available, I'm not saying they have to. I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's cool to have a team that's kind of like region locked. Or language locked, I guess, because they aren't picking up just players from Spain specifically. But I think it's really cool. I wouldn't mind if they kept it that way. But you never know. That's about it for Rostermania. There's a lot to uncover. It's just so hard to talk about right now, though, with the EWC rosters, we can look at them and we're like, okay, this is what's happening. This person's here. Here's what I think. But like, it's so hard to talk about these hypotheticals because like we're hearing, maybe Abezy to Falcons sounds like most likely, or maybe Abezy to like LAT. But again, like that could just be smoke, and Abezy might have already renewed his contract with FaZe. And it's like all this stuff we're talking about is useless, and it's so hard. Like you almost need that first domino to fall. Like you need that Draza has been dropped, and then it's like, well, okay, Draza's probably going to go here, which means this player will probably go here, and this player will probably move. I think the big factors in Rostermania are FaZe. If all 4 players split up and go their separate ways onto new teams, it's going to cause a lot of teams are going to want those 4 players, and then players are going to get dropped, and then those players are going to trickle down to other teams, and it's going to get crazy.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to our final thing, Brock. We got the compare game back.
Do it.
Back here. Start the CDL challenge.
Compare.
Our first one. Which team has a higher... Dude, we can't escape this question. Which team has a higher win percentage against FaZe in the CDL all-time through February 2025?
It's always this question, but it's like...
NYSL and C9 or Seattle Surge? Whenever I see Seattle Surge against FaZe question, I always think of them because they did have their number here and there for a bit.
Yeah.
But also Seattle were so bad early on in the CDL. But also NYSL. I want to say it's Seattle.
I'm down.
It wasn't 40.6 to 37.7. Damn, no perfect today.
Oh, really? Wow.
Which player has a longer... What were you going to say?
I said I would have picked Seattle too.
Yeah. I don't know. I just like in my head, Seattle has like a 90% win percentage versus FaZe. I obviously know it's not true and I'm exaggerating, but these are the ones I'm always really good at these questions because I like remember champs placings. Like I have a weird memory where I remember like everybody's champs placings from like every year. Which player has a longer drought since their last top 4 champs? So Classics was IW, right? Or did he get top 4 at World War II? Now watch, I'll get this question wrong. But Apathy's was, I mean, obviously World War II, he got first. BO4, he was the reason they got out earlier. And then he didn't, I mean, he definitely doesn't have a CDL era top 4. So Apathy's was World War II. Did Classic, what team was Classic on at BO4 champs? LG?
I believe so.
Yeah, he was still on LG, wasn't he?
Yeah, with the Rampart for a long while.
But wasn't he? Was he dropped though by the end of the year? I think he was because it was like Brack and Skies and Formal and Slacked and John.
Oh yeah.
And then did he get a? He didn't get a top 4 in the CDL era. So I think it's actually Classic. I think his last top 4 might be IW.
I'm down.
I think it's Classic. Yeah.
Classic.
My God, look at that. It was IW in World War II. Which player averaged a higher number of hardpoint engagements per map this season through Major?
Gotta be Action, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like
50.75 to 45, yeah. Selling him usually for engagements per map is not the highest. Which player, I think they mean team, has a higher Call of Duty LAN earnings all time? OpTic Texas versus LAT. I mean, LAT has the champs win and a few decent champs placements and then like some major wins, but with the double champs wins, it's got to be OpTic Texas. If this includes all of Call of Duty history, because it does say Call of Duty LAN earnings, it's so easily OpTic because they've been around for so much longer and all the wins with the Dynasty.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not OpTic. That's such a misleading question if it's these.
What?
then it's only CDL era, obviously, because I mean it says OpTic Texas and LAT, but I also can't believe. Is this maybe only through partway through this year before champs? Because there's no way that that's true.
Probably didn't count the OpTic this win this year.
Yeah.
Has to.
I'm trying to see if there's like on like the COD Gamepedia. Call of Duty Championships by prize amount. So if you just go by Call of Duty LAN earnings, dude, even if I'm looking at this right now, OpTic Gaming has over $1 million from like the OpTic and then 300K from the OGLA logo. Even if you just do the OpTic Texas branding, it says they have 1.84 million. So I don't even know where this 194 comes from. It says OpTic on COD Gamepedia. It says The OpTic Texas branch of OpTic has 1.84 million, and the LA Thieves branch of LAT has 1.46. So I have no idea where the 2.7
I don't know
comes
where that
from.
came from.
Also, it says even if you include 100T, their winnings were 260,000. So even if you include 100T in there, 100T plus LAT combined doesn't equal OpTic. So there's no way. This is just wrong. I don't know. I don't
That
even know
was
where it comes from. But that just isn't right.
yeah.
Which player has a higher KD in one full series versus a pro team? This just feels like a trick question, and it's Mad Cat.
It's private.
Just because the way this is going, I'm guessing Mad Cat. Yeah. Mad Cat had a 2.72 2018. Octane had a 2.
Pro League
Octane stays farming LAG, bro.
facts.
Last question. Is it going to load? They're blocking
Loading
us.
cheese.
It broke. It literally just
Loading
broke.
cheese. It broke.
I tried to refresh it. I'm going to click through and act like we got these right here. I'm trying to click through the last question to see if we can get it.
I was breaking the last one.
It always breaks the last one. Yeah, dude. That's what I'm saying. I
It's
just want
all
to know what the
fine
last
until the
question
last
is.
one.
I don't know what this damn last question is. Oh, yeah, it's LAT. I almost clicked OpTic again because it's so obviously OpTic. That just isn't right. I guess, it is LAN earnings, though, so I guess the OpTic does have... But even OpTic Texas doesn't even have LAN earnings. OpTic Texas doesn't even have LAN earnings for MW19 because they weren't around in MW19, technically. That was...
Is yours loading?
Yes.
Loading through.
Which player averaged a
I wonder
higher
who.
hardpoint KD this season? Yeah.
I wonder who.
Joe. Hey, look at that. 6 for 6.
That was like the easiest question of all time.
6 for 6.
Sorry.
Just everybody act like we didn't get those few wrong.
6 for 6. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, that's gonna do it for this one though. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. I was talking to Brad today. He, I believe, is gonna be able to join us potentially next week or 2 weeks from now. And then he said from like the beginning, or like the middle of August. I think he said like August 8th, he's done with work for the summer and moves back for school. So from August 8th on, I think we should be pretty much 3 of us rolling for good in the off season as we search for content. Pretty much the 3 of us rolling from there, but Brad will be kind of on and off for the next few weeks. We're gonna do our episode. I'm trying to look at the calendar here on my phone. We're gonna do our episode next. So let's see, next week, July 14th. We'll do that episode. We'll probably do EWC predictions. They really need to get the damn groups out. We'll probably do EWC predictions next week if the groups are out. If not, they have to come out by the 18th because I go on a flight on the 19th. And I'm not back until the 26th. So I miss like the beginning of EWC, but next week will be our last episode for a bit because then I'll be gone the next Monday. So we won't have an episode for a week there. Hopefully if the EWC pools are out before the 19th, we will have an episode about it. If not, we're gonna have to like post them on Twitter or something because I'm gonna be gone and will not be able to record. But yeah, so there's an update for you guys. I will be gone. We're also gonna try to get a Twitch page created for Brock to stream. I don't even know. I'm not even gonna cut this out of the video. There might be a stream tonight, a random worst Val players of all time stream. If we can get everything figured out. We're still trying to get everything set up for the stream. My issue right now is I have every kind of noise suppression you can possibly put on in history. But for some reason my mouse clicks still come across really, really loud, and I don't want you guys to be, just your eardrums destroyed by my keyboard and mouse clacking. So potentially a stream tonight, or if not, coming up here, hopefully within the next few weeks. And then we have some stream plans. I think we're gonna be streaming 2K next year a little bit. A little pro-am with 5 of us. Just like I feel like that will be chaotic and fun with us yelling at each other. And just the conversations that'll happen in that will be hilarious. But again, if you guys enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. That's gonna do it, and we will see you guys next week with hopefully EWC predictions if they get the damn groups out. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.